Throughout history, fabricated incidents have been used by governments, kings, and leaders to justify wars of aggression to their own people and the world. These covert operations are designed to deceive the target population into believing that they are under attack from an outside force, often causing them to put aside their differences and unite against this perceived common enemy, while demanding that their leaders retaliate. Here are my choices.
No one had more first-hand experience intervening in other countries than Smedley Butler, now a Major General in the Marine Corps. Adored by his men, they called him Old Gimlet Eye after a wound sustained in Honduras. And at the end of his long and highly decorated service, he reflected upon his years in uniform.
I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service as a member of this country's most agile military force, the Marine Corps. I served in all commission ranks from second lieutenant to major general. And during that period, I spent most of my time being a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street, and for the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. Like all the members of the military profession, I never had a thought of my own until I left the service. I helped make Mexico, especially Tampico, safe for American oil interests in 1914. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefits of Wall Street. The record of racketeering is long. I helped purify Nicaragua for the International Banking House of Brown Brothers in 1909 to 1912. I brought light to the Dominican Republic for American sugar earnest in 1916. In China, I helped to see to it that Standard Oil went its way unmolested. During those years, I had, as the boys in the back room would say, a swell racket. Looking back on it, I feel I could have given Al Capone a few hints. Best he could do is operate his racket in 3 districts. I operated on 3 continents.
Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, the true name of the Heavenly Father, and his Son, Yahweh Shai, whom the world calls Jesus Christ. I want to give double honor to the apostles, elders at Great Millstone, salutations to you, Akim, that's out there doing the work in truth and in sincerity, sealing the elect through the pure word, the 100% truth. All right. And so this lesson is pretty much in regards into Memorial Day, the commemoration of warmongering, which a lot of people don't understand. All right. A lot of people think that, the veterans died for, their country. And that's just not the truth. All right. They were pretty much cannon fodder. All right. For the elites to go across the planet and decimate the earth and justify the means of going into certain countries and taking resources and sacrificing lives to do so, And so Esau, the so-called white man, the self-proclaimed white man, which we call the devil according to the Bible because devil means deceiver. All right. He is a warmonger. He's always been into war ever since his inception. All right. Ever since going back to the Greek Empire, starting with Alexander the Greek, their first rulership in the earth. And this is pretty much their last rulership in the earth because all they have done is brought evils to the earth, death and destruction, and they continue to do so based off the premise of freedom, which we know is free doom. All right. Based off these peaceable sayings and beguiling the people to believe in their way of life, which their way of life is pretty much death. All right. And I always call America a death culture because people are okay with the society, especially you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. And so as we see Genesis 28 and 38, it goes into the blessing of Esau, which is the progenitor of the so-called self-proclaimed white nation of people. Now, not all white people descend from Esau, but the majority descend from Esau, okay? And how do we know? Because the scriptures say he was a man of the field. They love to go hunting, which is their primary thing, all right? Also, another spiritual marker within the scriptures, when you read the birth of Esau, okay, that was also him eating raw meat, all right, not fully cooked, all right, what they call medium rare. And these are just spiritual markers, all right, spiritual markers that are very relevant and prevalent in this day and age, all right. And see, when we look at what's going on in society, we never go back to the scriptures. We never really try to understand what's going on. We only use our own, well, I'll say you people, because I'm reformed. We believe in the scriptures. All right. So, and I mean, I ain't no Christian. All right. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. So, but the point is that most people don't reference the scriptures with the things, the current events in the world. Some do, some don't. But the majority of people don't, especially you Americans. All right. So you Americans, you know, especially I'm speaking towards you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. You trust in this society. You trust in the so-called white man. In fact, you look at the so-called white man as God, and like nobody can, you know, nobody is worthy to rule a planet but him, so to speak, you know. And everything he has gotten is through ill-gotten gains. All right. And his main tactic is war. All right. And so that's what he has been adding to the world, bringing to the world, death and destruction, raping, robbing, pillaging, and everybody's okay with it because we have so-called freedoms, in which we don't. All right. We're owned by a corporatocracy, an allegiance of corporate entities that rule over us. And who's running the corporate entities is so-called white man, Esau, Edom. And at the very top, they know exactly who they are and what their purpose is here on earth. All right. But it's time for people to get hip and wake up to, you know, to the bull crap that's going on. Hey, but without further ado, I'm going to go into these scriptures, and Lord willing, you know, those that are listening be edified. So this is Genesis 27:38. And this is the blessing that was bestowed upon Esau from his father Jacob. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, all right, and of the dew of heaven from above, okay? And the point is in verse 40, all right, because once again, these are spiritual markers. And most don't really want to tie these into current events and things that's going on in the world, but this is the only way you understand what's going on in the world. Genesis 27:40, and by thy sword shalt thou live and serve thy brother, all right? And the point we want to get right here, verse 40, because this is very important. And by thy sword shalt thou live. I'll read the whole precept and then I'm going to go into the word. And shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. All right. And that happened during a very specific point in history. OK. And let's go into this word sword. All right. Because I just want to prove my points. And by thy sword, charab. All right. Sword, knife, tools for cutting stone. When you go into it, all right. Now, we know what the sword is used for, but this is very symbolic, especially being that this is a modern world, right? And so here we go. As laying waste, a sword as laying waste. What? Laying waste of what? All right, the world, because it's described once again, the birthright is that he will have the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth, meaning basically he's gonna have the whole earth, okay, and he's gonna cover the whole earth, and that's what the so-called white man has done. They took over Asia at one point, all right. The Russians still, the superpower, you Edomites that's in Russia, you run the Eastern world, all right, and you in conflict with your cousins, the Americans, which are so-called Edomites as well, the rulers, all right. And they in charge of the western part of the world. And your armies subdue the whole earth. Okay. So it says, as laying waste, others having the signification edge, let me see, to be sharp, acrid, whence, edge of the sword. All right. To kill with the sword, to smite with the edge of the sword, And what is the modern day sword? The gun, okay? It is applied to other cutting instruments, all right? And then go into circumcision. But the point being that to lay waste, all right? And it says, by thy sword shalt thou live, okay? Let's go into the word live, all right? The word chaya, which means to live, have life, remain alive, sustain life, live prosperously. And how has the American military industrial complex lived? It lived very prosperously, okay, because it's warmongering. Once again, you're selling war, you're selling weapons, and they have got loads of resource based on their blessing, man, all right? It says live forever, be quickened, be alive, be restored to life of health, all right? And that's how America has its resource. That's how they became rich, not only through war, but through slavery, okay? And that's there's the truth, okay? And so let's focus in on the military industrial complex, Esau, okay? The scriptures say he weighed the violence in his heart, all right? Can't even do it that way. All right. So just bear with me just a second. All right. And this is to the so-called white man. All right. This is Psalms 58, 1. All right. Do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? All right. And it's talking about the nations, preferably those who are in leadership positions. Okay. Yea, in heart ye weigh wicked. You work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. All right. And so they think upon and muse upon all the violence that they do in the earth. All right. What is the main thoughts of the military is that they're the hammer and pretty much every opposition is the nail, especially in this day and age. They drone strike. They use drones as a huge part of their military. Okay. They use a huge part of their military for that, all right? Psalms 10 and 1, it says, why standest thou afar off, O Lord? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble, all right? And pretty much that's a sentiment that most people have, that analyze what's going on in the world. The Most High is not standing afar off. His eyes are upon the sinful kingdom, as the scriptures say in Amos, all right? And he's watching everything, all right? According to what? According to, I think, Sirach 27, all right? His eyes are 1,000 times brighter than the sun, all right? Beholding the ways of men, all right? Ecclesiastes 23 and 19, such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men and considering the most secret parts. And so the Lord considers all things. He considers all things that men do, especially the counsels of the wicked. All right. Oh, Slakia. Let's see. All right. And the scriptures say he's going to make inquisition of the counsels of the wicked. And what are that? Those are these generals and that gets their orders from these men that's in the shadows who really run everything, all right? And these mainly are corporate entities, all right? Who's ridding the world who's destroying the world through war, all right? It says, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have made. And ultimately, the so-called white man, all right, these armies are going to be obliterated with the same weaponry that they've used to subjugate and destroy the whole earth and destroy the infrastructure of the earth, okay? Because your primary tool is what? ICBM nuclear missiles. And that's how America is going to be destroyed, by your own hand, all right? You're going to be taking in the devices that they have imagined, man, all right? It says, for the wicked boasted of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, all right, whom the Lord abhorreth. And so they boasted of their heart's desire as what? To basically take all things and subdue all nations, and to pretty much have people as slaves, man, all right? And corporate slaves, all right? Because you don't have to have a whip to your back. That working 80 hours a week or 40 hours a week or 60 hours a week, that's a whip to your back, and living paycheck to paycheck, which leads me into my next point, which you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. You want to join the military because you trust that it's the strongest army. Well, the Most High army is strong, way stronger than the army of Esau, the so-called white man. All right, and soon enough he will fight against the Most High's army. All right, Yahweh Shai's army. Okay, which is going to be allegiance of angels. All right, celestial beings that's going to shoot laser beams from their chariots, which fly upon the winds, the wings of the wind. All right, if I put that right. Okay, so it says, and blessed the covetous. Okay, and so what? You bless those that go about in the world that's malignant and that's malicious, that want to steal people's resources. All right, and that's what you people do. Okay, whom the Lord abhorreth. So the Most High sees this as a abominable. All right, he sees this as detestable. All right, it says, the wicked through the pride of his countenance, all right, will not seek after the Most High. God is not in all his thoughts. And that's why you go about destroying things. That's why you go about persecuting the poor. That's why you go about killing unarmed civilians, so on and so forth. And you're raping these women in these different countries, okay? And you're doing all type of heinous things, all right? It says, verse 5, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. So he's not thinking with the judgments of the Heavenly Father, because there's rules of engagement. All right. There's rules of engagement. And the so-called white man has used his technology to go beyond, that border, that line that's drawn in the sand. All right. No pun intended. It says, as for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. All right. That's in another word for puffeth is to basically blow. All right. And how do they blow? All right. All his enemies, puach, to breathe, to blow, to cause, to excel, to breathe, to puff, snort, excite, and flame, to puff, pant for it, breathe out, utter, to blow, to blast. All right. Break, okay, is another word for it. Speak, puff, blow, break, utter, bring into a snare. All right. And so that's how these Edomites are dealing with all these other nations. That's, quote unquote, not for their interests. OK, like Gaddafi, for an example, wanted to liberate his own people. All right. And being that Gaddafi's a part of that Illuminati structure, brotherhood, so quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, he stepped outside the boundaries of the agenda of the elite. And that's what? To continue to oppress the poor and continue to control the resources and never really give anybody freedom. Only through entertainment and materialism and consuming do people believe they have freedom. But that's a privilege, and you have to have a license for most stuff you do. All right. Verse 6. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. And that's going to be one of the biggest things that's going to happen to America, is that this place is going to fall, and it's going to fall economically, and it's going to be a war-torn place, all right? Because America is going to be in adversity, according to Isaiah 47, all right? It's going to lose its spot as the top nation in the world, okay? Only because of the ill-gotten gains and the continuous hurtful things that they do on the earth in the name of freedom, all right? His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud, all right? Under his tongue is mischief and vanity, okay? And that's what the so-called white man is about, all right? It's full of cursing, all right? Deceit and fraud. You set up central banks all over the earth. When you set up that central banking system in these different rural areas where you destroy the infrastructure, all right? And you come back and rebuild, all right? You destroy people's lives. They become migrants, and so on and so forth, all right? He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privately set against the poor, all right? And so we know the so-called white man is a coward, and they're not fighting a war against, tyrants, because they created the tyrants. All these people that's in leadership roles, they are part of the same fraternities and sororities, and all of them have one agenda, all right? Is to persecute, and had a whole pyramid scheme throughout the whole earth where the central banks is enslaving the people, enslaving their minds, and so on and so forth, okay? But it's time out for the lies, man, all right? He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net, all right? And that's that democracy, all right? That's that freedom. That's all bullcrap, man. He croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones, you see? And so they'll go into a country. They'll make it seem like they're for their people, liberating their people. But guess what? Just like they did, the Greeks, speaking on Antiochus Epiphanes, I believe, he came in peaceably, all right? And he destroyed the nation of Israel, all right? Because he was impressionable upon them, all right? With your democracy, with your freedom, all right? It's impressionable upon the people, because people think they can do what thou wilt, which that's Satanism. And the so-called white man is all about Satanism, all right? And so I don't want this lesson to be too long, but I just want to touch on you Israelites now, okay? Because America is spiritually known as Egypt, all right? And you have gone down to Egypt, all right? And you become what's a better word for it? You become lenient on the so-called white man's way of life, all right? To you, that's your all, because the so-called white man is most of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans' God, all right? It says, woe to them that go down to Egypt, Isaiah 31:1, for help, and stay on horses and trust in chariots, because they are many. And all right, and that's why a lot of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans believe in the so-called American military-industrial complex, because you think because they have many horses or many chariots with what their Humvees and their tanks and their MRAPs and their fully bulletproof, fully armored vehicles and all of that. All right. And the reason why this is a sentiment to now, because Israelites during the ancient world would be in conflict with other nations, and certain nations would play as allies to Israel at one point, and there'd be points in history where the Most High would tell Israel to stand down against certain nations, but Israel would flee to these nations that the Lord wasn't dealing with, and they would trust in their military might, and they'll become citizens, and they'll pledge allegiance, and they'll make covenants with these certain different nations, all right, because they think that they're going to ultimately save them, and if you're not trusting in the Lord, you're not going to be saved. All right. If you're trusting in the military, you're gonna go down with the military. All right. Because the Lord has plan. He has his own plans. I'll continue reading. It says, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord. Yet he also is wise and will bring evil and will not call back his word, all right, but will arise against the house of the evildoers and against the help of them that work iniquity, all right. Now the Egyptians are men, and we'll place Egyptian for Americans, because when you go into the word Egyptian, it's the word there is double straits, all right, meaning a very, very difficult position of living, a very difficult position. Another word for Egypt is bondage, all right, because the word is martyrzarium, okay? And Egypt is just a Greek word, all right? But when you look at Egypt and you think about Egypt and commemorate Egypt, what is the biggest thing that comes out of Egypt? Slavery, all right? The Hebrew slaves, okay? So it's a sentiment that we can place here in America, because America is spiritually Egypt, all right? They have obelisks at the... in Washington, which they call it, what is that? The memorial that's in Washington, all right, commemorates Egypt, okay? They have cities named after Phoenix, Egypt, all right? Phoenix, all right? And then you got Memphis, all right? And so these are spiritual markers, but only the ones that's discerners will understand, okay? And so the Lord is going to bring Egypt, because what? The Egyptians, the Americans are just men, all right? And not God, and their horses flesh and not spirit, all right? And so your horses, which they might be metal, all right? They might be armored, but they're not spirit. And that's what's going to happen. The Lord is going to meet the American military, which they're going to be involved in World War III, all right? And they're going to be killing each other in World War III until the Lord comes back, and they're going to turn and face the Lord and try to fight against the Lord, okay? And so that's how the Lord is going to lump all you together in the valley of Jehoshaphat, and he's going to subdue you, and he's going to laser beam you and burn you to hell, man, all right? He's going to burn you to hell. He's going to burn you to ash, okay? That's why the scripture said, why is earth and ashes proud? Because the Lord is going to reduce you to ash, all right? It says, and their horses flesh and not spirit, because, hey, once again, you're dealing with the armies of the Lord. Their spirit. And the scriptures say, Isaiah 47, I shall not meet thee as a man, okay? It says, when the Lord shall stretch out his hand, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down, and they all shall fail together, all right? For thus said, and the Lord has determined this, man. He's determined this, all right? He's determined this to happen to what? The fierce armies, okay? Let's get Isaiah 47, and then I'm going to close out, because I didn't want this to be that long, and I got a few precepts. But this is just the point. Isaiah 47:1, it says, come down, sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Now, who is the virgin daughter of Babylon? All right? It's Esau, Edom, according to, I think it's Psalms 139, which I'm going to get in my book. I have my book here, so I'll read it from my book, just for the sake of time, so I won't lose my point right here. 137, Psalms 137:7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. All right, because we got a history going back with Esau, Edom, and they have had a perpetual hatred for you so-called blacks, Latinos, or Native American, but you choose to serve in their armies. You choose to serve this so-called white man, and you choose to look at him as a god, when the Lord looks at him as just a man, and less than that, a base man. All right, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. All right, so you're going to get recompense according to what you have done and how you serve the nations. All right, happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. Okay, and so happy shall the Lord be that dashes your little ones to the stones, like you did the North American Indians. All right, And it's countless heinous things, but we're dealing with war right now. So Isaiah 47:1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. All right. And why is it called them the daughter of the Chaldeans? All right. Because they're into heavy witchcraft, and the Chaldeans were as well. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. All right. Because America at one point was tender and delicate, untouched. Okay. Precious. Okay. At one point in history. Now it's not. All right, it's demoralized. It's a bunch of fraudulent things going on. It's a bunch of, sex trafficking, all type of corruption in the government that they downplay. Okay, the government has been infiltrated. It's been taken over from the inside out. Okay, and so there's a lot of government agencies that think they have people that work in the government agencies that think they have people's best interests at heart, but you don't, because they're infiltrated and they've been taken over. Verse 2, take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. And that's why the success of economically, the success of America has gone. All right, there's no more this country doesn't produce raw material anymore. You just consume. That's all this place is about, consuming, materialism. All right. And that's why you think you have freedom, but you don't. All right. It says, take the millstones and grind meal, which that's synonymous with work. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. And that's exactly what happened to the American job structure. All right. Most of the good jobs have gone and passed over the river. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Thy shame shall be seen. What is the nakedness? The evil works that have been done. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. And that's the point I want to draw out. He will not meet thee as a man, because he's going to meet you as a celestial being and to destroy the armies. All right. And with that, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakah Kodash. Barakathum. Shalom. Hopefully this was edifying.